Shrouding the Heavens, Episode 124, the Fan and Pangbo teamed up to kill several dragon transformation realm elders of the Yinyang sect and successfully rescued Little Nan Nan. Picking up from the last episode, after being unable to find any trace of Little Nan Nan, the Fan and Pangbo temporarily left the capital of Yan to visit some old acquaintances. Their first stop was the Spirit Ruins Paradise. In the past, a total of 13 people, including the Fan, had walked out of the desolate ancient forbidden land. They were discovered by Wei Wei and subsequently taken away by people from the 6 grotto heavens and blessed lands, each of which took 2 of them as disciples. Pangbo and Zhongwen Chang were the ones who became disciples of the Spirit Ruins Paradise. Although the Fan had also stayed there, he had only been accompanying Pangbo and was not accepted as a true disciple because he was found to possess an ancient, desolate body, which was believed to make cultivation impossible. However, upon their arrival, they received the tragic news that Zhang Wencheng was already dead. It turned out that while Zhang Wencheng was gathering spiritual herbs on the mountain, he encountered a vicious beast, and his death was extremely tragic. Upon learning this, the Fan and Pangbo felt immense melancholy and regret. The old classmates had not gathered for a long time since arriving in this world, and now, unexpectedly, they would never get to see Zhang Wencheng one last time. After paying their respects at Zhang Wencheng's grave, the Fan and Pangbo went to visit Elder Wu Qingf. They owed a debt of gratitude to the old man, as it was he who had recognized their potential and led them on to the path of cultivation, enabling them to reach their current achievements. Elder Wu Qingfeng had aged a bit, but his spirit was as good as ever. Upon seeing the Fan and Pangbo again, the old man felt very gratified and excited. He was surprised that the strength of these two was now comparable to that of a holy son, and one of them was his own disciple. Afterward, the Fan and Pangbo stayed and accompanied Elder Wu Qingfeng, chatting for a long time. Before leaving, the Fan left behind a divine spring and a divine root, knowing this might be their last time seeing the elder. After all, the highest cultivation level in the Spirit Ruins Paradise was only the first level of the Dao Palace realm. If Wu Qingfeng couldn't break through, his lifespan would surely be a difficult hurdle to overcome. Subsequently, the Fan and Pangbo also visited the Jade Tripod Paradise, the Yan Xia Paradise, the Purple Sun Paradise, and the Golden Glow Paradise, but they did not see their old classmates. Apparently, these old classmates had never returned since parting ways with the Fan. This separation occurred when the 3 major holy lands forced them to enter the desolate ancient forbidden land to pick divine medicine. The Fan had confronted the holy lands alone, creating an opportunity for his classmates to escape, and he had been separated from them ever since. He only knew that Li Xiaomen had entered the Taixuan sect. There was no news of the others. Their last stop was the Western Moon Paradise, where they were stunned to learn of the whereabouts of their foreign classmate, Cade. Apparently, a wandering old monk had passed by the Sunset Glow Paradise and, upon seeing Cade, was struck by his burly figure and full head of blonde hair. The monk determined that Cade bore a resemblance to a guardian Vajra from Buddhist legends and consequently took him to the western desert to cultivate on Mount Sumeru. The Fan and Pangbo knew that Cade had hit the jackpot, as Mount Sumeru was surrounded by legends, both on Earth and in this new world. After learning everything, the Fan and Pangbo returned to the capital of Yan. They practically turned the entire capital upside down, using all their power to search, but ultimately found no clues about Little Nan Nan. During this time, Lan Yu and many holy lands were also searching for Hua Yunfei, but it was as if he had vanished from the face of the earth, leaving no trace behind. When Yao Shi finally appeared, the Fan quickly found her to fulfill his promise, giving her a son, holy fruit. He then asked if she knew any clues about Little Nan Nan. However, Yao Shi shook her head, explaining that during her duel with Wang Chengshou, she was ambushed by a mysterious person before she could take Little Nan Nan and leave. According to Yao Shi's guess, Little Nan Nan was likely taken by the Holy Maiden of the Yinyang sect. She had discovered that the sect's Holy Maiden was searching everywhere for children with extraordinary spiritual qualities before she left. Furthermore, Yao Shi speculated that the people from the Yinyang sect had not yet returned to the central province and might still be at the Qixia sect, 50,000 miles away, as that sect had always been supported by the Yinyang sect. Upon hearing The fan had a sudden realization, understanding why he couldn't find any trace of Little Nan Nan in the capital. He immediately led Pengbo and the others to the Qixia sect. When he infiltrated the back mountain of the sect, he indeed found a dozen or so children, with the oldest being 5 or 6 and the youngest only 2. He even saw Little Nan Nan being publicly scolded by a middle-aged woman and punished with no food. This was because Nan Nan was naturally forgetful, and the woman considered her useless. Even so, Little Nan Nan didn't dare to talk back, showing only a very wronged expression. Finally, unable to bear it any longer and feeling extremely guilty, the fan strode forward. He believed that if he hadn't been so busy and unable to care for her, the little girl wouldn't have ended up in this situation. He slapped the middle-aged woman across the face and pulled Little Nan Nan to his side for protection. The woman demanded to know who he was and his relationship with the girl. The fan furiously retorted, "Who I am is not important. What's important is that the lives of your holy maiden and holy son combined are not enough to compensate for the grievances Little Nan Nan has suffered." After speaking, he drew his dragon-patterned black gold sword and interrogated the woman about the holy maiden's whereabouts. Just then, 3 dragon transformation realm elders from the Yinyang sect rushed over after hearing the commotion, accompanied by several young people. They loudly questioned who the fan was and why he dared to offend the Yinyang Holy Land. The fan responded coldly, "What a joke! You capture a disciple from my eastern wasteland, imprison my loved one, and you dare say I'm offending you." His killing intent was overwhelming, and his eyes were sharp, paying no mind to the 3 elders. He then swung his dragon-patterned black gold sword and killed the young disciples of the Yinyang sect, carefully covering Little Nan Nan's eyes, to spare her the bloody scene. Seeing this, the 3 dragon transformation realm elders could no longer remain calm and rushed forward. It wasn't until the fan displayed the phenomenon of his sacred body that they finally recognized his identity. Even so, the elders were still filled with killing intent. They didn't care if the fan had the protection of a god king. They only knew that he had come to kill them. They believed that even if they killed the sacred body, the god king would have no grounds for complaint. The 3 elders each unleashed their weapons, striking at the fan. However, the fan stood his ground, and his brocade mountains and rivers phenomenon appeared, instantly neutralizing all their attacks. Immediately after, he swung his dragon-patterned black gold sword and drove his sacred body's phenomenon forward to suppress them. The 3 dragon transformation realm elders, naturally, did not dare to face it head-on. They were well aware of how terrifying the sacred body's phenomenon was. If they were enveloped by it, they would surely face a life-and-death situation. However, the speed of their retreat was no match for the fan's old madman footwork. In the blink of an eye, his phenomenon suppressed everyone, and the fan proceeded to cut down all the experts from the Yinyang sect one by one. Just at this moment, another old woman at the 4th transformation of the dragon transformation realm appeared from the void, and with her were several more dragon transformation realm elders. What was even more terrifying was that one of them, like the old woman, was also an expert at the 4th transformation. The fan and Pengbo immediately sensed that the situation had become dire. 2 experts at this level were formidable, life-and-death adversaries, much stronger than the 1st transformation elders they had just faced. At the same time, the old woman, upon seeing the fan kill all the Yinyang sect's experts, sneered, "Young man, you truly don't know your place. A doomed sacred body, already on the verge of death, yet you dared to come to our Yinyang sect and cause trouble. I will send you on your way early." With that, the old woman brandished her cane and advanced. Her steps were light as she constantly used her cane to manipulate the power of heaven and earth, intending to suppress the fan's sacred body and his dragon-patterned black gold sword. Indeed, when the fan swung his sword and hacked at the cane, he felt his movements were restricted, unable to unleash his full combat power. At this moment, the old woman placed her cane in the void, merging it with the great Tao. The cane seemed to come to life, transforming into a towering ancient bamboo that shot endless strikes towards the fan as it swayed. The fan had to resist this with all his might. A golden sea of bitterness emerged, surging into the sky to block the thousands of bamboo strikes. With a deafening roar, the collision between the 2 erupted with unparalleled shockwaves that radiated in all directions. The fan could now finally unleash his full combat power, no longer restricted. One must know that there was a gap of many minor realms between the fan and the old woman, yet he had managed to block her terrifying attack. Even the old woman was extremely shocked. She had drawn upon the Tao to set up a killing formation, and she found it hard to believe that this young man had broken it. Seeing this, Pangbo unleashed the Demon Emperor's 9 slashes, preparing to help the fan kill the old hag. But on the other side, the other expert at the 4th transformation of the Dragon Transformation Realm also stepped forward. He looked like a large, shriveled monkey, a truly wretched old man. The fan did not let his guard down, knowing well that the gap in their realms was huge. One old woman was already hard to deal with, and now another formidable elder had appeared. Fortunately, Pangbo stood with him, ready to advance and retreat together. Soon, the two great experts joined forces and pressed forward. With every step they took, the void trembled. They were 6 minor realms higher than the fan. If it were any other 4 extremities realm cultivator, a single finger from them would be enough to kill. Only someone with a constitution like the fan's, along with Pangbo at the great circle of the 4 extremities realm, could withstand them. Even so, the two did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. The fan began to circulate the battle saint method, while also trying to trigger the all-secret to increase his combat power tenfold. Pangbo, meanwhile, activated the Demon Emperor's 9 slashes, and they faced the two great experts together. But suddenly, the two elders' arms linked together, forming a yin-yang diagram. This was the supreme technique of the Yinyang sect. Men cultivate, young women cultivate, yang, and fusing them together can increase their combat power 5-fold, making it said to be invincible. Indeed, when the fan and Pangbo's attacks collided with the yin-yang diagram, both of them were sent flying. The fan wasn't seriously injured, but Pangbo suffered a huge impact, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Seeing this, the two elders revealed a cold, harsh smile and once again deployed the yin-yang diagram. Pushing forward, this time, the diagram was several times larger than before, like the wheel of a divine lord, crushing everything in its path, unstoppable and unbreakable. The fan and Pangbo decisively retreated, not daring to face it head-on. But soon, the fan's all-secret finally triggered successfully, and his combat power instantly soared tenfold. He swung his dragon-patterned black gold sword, magnifying it several times, and struck down with 1 slash. Along with an earth sound, the huge yin-yang diagram was split in 2 by the fan. The two elders also suffered heavy injuries and were sent flying. Pangbo seized the opportunity and gave chase, unleashing a Demon Emperor's 9 slashes that struck the two elders again, causing them to cough up blood. Fortunately for them, the elders managed to dodge the remaining slashes, otherwise they would have surely perished. They found it hard to believe that they were clearly several realms higher than the two youths, yet they were still injured, which couldn't help but make them feel terrified. Logically speaking, the supreme technique of the Yinyang sect should be impossible for anyone of the younger generation to break. The only possibility was that the opponent had mastered one of the 9 secrets, the all-secret. Thinking of this, the two elders immediately recalled a secret text from the Yinyang sect. According to the legend, countless eons ago, an ancestor of the Yinyang sect had fused yin and yang within himself and was invincible in the central province. Unexpectedly, while traveling to the eastern wasteland, he encountered a sage who had mastered the 9 secrets and was ultimately defeated. Then, the two elders said coldly to the fan, "We know what kind of sacred technique you're using. However, you can't use it continuously. It needs to be triggered repeatedly. While we are one with yin and yang, we can slowly wear you down and kill you." These two elders were incredibly powerful, and their combat experience was also very rich. In the following confrontation, whenever the fan successfully triggered the all-secret, they would tear open the void and quickly escape, only to return a moment later to fight with the fan and Pangbo. However, the fan also had a way to deal with them. He ordered the big black dog and the others to set up a superformation pattern in the void to seal off this area. Indeed, when the two elders appeared again, they were both trapped within the magic formation. By the time they realized it, it was too late. Furthermore, the fan had the big black dog forcibly separate the two, isolating them in different spaces so they had no chance to merge their power. This way, even without using the all-secret, the fan could still engage in a great battle with them. Soon, he went after the old woman, while Pangbo faced off against the wretched old man. They couldn't go deep inside the formation but fought on its outer edges. The two elders were like a pair of living targets, powerless to do anything against the Fan and Pangbo. After completely finishing the battle, the Fan led Little Nan Nan and the group of children away from there, returning once again to the streets of the capital of Yandop. The Fan forcefully slays the holy maiden of the Yinyang sect, which becomes the first case of a holy maiden from the eastern wastelands' younger generation being slain. Picking up from the last episode, after successfully rescuing Little Nan Nan, the first thing the Fan did upon returning to the capital of Yan was to take her to buy new clothes. The sight of the 3-year-old child, dressed in tattered clothes from head to toe with holes in her shoes, was truly heart-wrenching. However, Little Nan Nan paid no mind to this, and instead timidly asked the Fan if she could have something to eat first, as she was very hungry. The Fan knew that ever since she had lost the small 7-colored stone, she was no different from a normal child and would feel terribly hungry if she didn't eat. In fact, he had learned by searching the innkeeper's memories that if something happened to the 7-colored stone, Little Nan Nan would become gravely ill. Afterward, the Fan took her to have a hearty meal and bought her a new, beautiful set of clothes. After doing all this, the Fan took out a memory crystal. Recorded inside were the events that had occurred between him and Little Nan Nan in the capital of Yan, which he used to prevent her from forgetting the past. After retrieving some of her memories, Little Nan Nan indeed remembered the past events and was no longer so timid and uneasy. She was very affectionate towards the Fan, calling him Big Brother repeatedly, and seemed very well behaved and adorable. Immediately after, the Fan returned the small 7-colored stone to Little Nan Nan and told her to be sure to keep it safe and not give it to anyone. He also carefully made this stone into a pendant and hung it around her delicate neck. Pangbo, Tefei, and the others were also naturally very fond of Little Nan Nan, but they raised a heart-wrenching question. She was still young, and it was very unsuitable for her to stay with them, as they often had to face life-and-death battles. In fact, the Fan had thought about this problem before. He had planned to send Little Nan Nan to Stupid Peak to be Zhang Wencheng's daughter, but considering he had forced Hua Yongfei to become a public enemy, it was inevitable that Hua Yongfei would return to retaliate against those around him. So, after thinking it over, the Fan decided to keep Little Nan Nan by his side for the time being. Just as they were considering where Little Nan Nan should go, the big black dog suddenly had an idea. He wanted to take Little Nan Nan as his disciple. Like a big bad wolf, the big black dog presented a fatal temptation, promising to teach her a supreme technique, comparable to what the ruthless great emperor created in her later years, and to take her to the undead mountain to pick Tao enlightenment tea leaves. The Fan knew the big black dog must have seen something special in Little Nan Nan. After all, the dog usually snatches any treasure he sees, and the Fan even had reason to suspect that the big black dog might see her as delicious prey. Thinking of this, the Fan shouted at him, "If you dare to eat a child, I'll skin you alive." The big black dog swore, "What are you thinking? This emperor wants to cultivate a great emperor. Just you wait and see. In the near future, Little Nan Nan will definitely be a great emperor." Hearing this, everyone was a bit stunned. Even Yaoshi, who was playing with a group of children not far away, also ran over. She asked the big black dog how he could tell that Little Nan Nan would become a great emperor in the future. However, regarding this question, the big black dog was evasive, putting on the airs of a worldly expert. Seeing this, Little Nan Nan couldn't help but praise, "What a cute doggy." This remark immediately made the big black dog feel extremely ashamed, as this was the first time in his life anyone had ever called him cute. Even the Fan, Pangbo, and the others couldn't help but burst into laughter. In the time that followed, the Fan, Pangbo, and the others were discussing how to handle the dozens of remaining children, which was a very vexing problem, as it was impossible to keep all of them by their side. But just then, more than 20 figures appeared on the streets of the capital of Yan. They all exuded a strong killing intent, heading together towards the residence of the Fan and the others. The Fan naturally sensed them as well. He hurriedly placed the dozens of children into the jade pure bottle and had the big black dog inscribe a teleportation formation, preparing to leave. However, the big black dog failed after several consecutive attempts, completely unable to traverse the void. He informed the Fan and the others that the people outside were likely from the Yinyang sect and had come prepared, bringing a artifact. Sure enough, just as the fan and the others were preparing to break out, the holy maiden of the Yinyang sect arrived under the moonlight. Accompanying her was an 8th-level dragon transformation realm elder, as well as 2 7th-level elders. The holy maiden sneered at the fan. "You destroyed my sect's holy ground and took away all the children. Aren't you going a bit too far?" The fan replied coldly. "When you took Little Nan Nan, you should have already known her relationship with me." Back then, the fan had left a memory crystal on Little Nan Nan, telling her to watch it every morning to prevent her from forgetting the past. When the Yinyang sect's holy maiden took her, she clearly saw that memory crystal and knew his relationship with her, yet she still took her by force. The Yinyang sect's holy maiden said disdainfully, "Rumors say you don't have many days left to live. By taking that little girl from the inn, wasn't I doing it for her own good, so she wouldn't end up on the streets in the future?" Although the fan was extremely furious upon hearing this, he didn't want to argue with her at the moment. After all, the Yinyang sect's holy maiden had brought 3 dragon transformation realm masters. Although his constitution allowed him to fight against higher realms, there was ultimately a limit. He had just advanced to the 2nd level of the 4 extremities realm, and the gap in their cultivation realms was immense. He was simply no match for them. Soon, the fan secretly sent a telepathic message, telling Pangbo and the others to split up and run. He knew their main target was him, and if they stayed together, Pangbo and the others would also be implicated. Indeed, after they separated, the Yinyang sect's holy maiden and the 3 dragon transformation realm elders chased after the fan, while the other 20-odd figures relentlessly pursued Pangbo and the others. This time, the holy maiden of the Yinyang sect was full of confidence. She knew the fan had mastered the old madman's footwork and possessed unparalleled speed, so she had specifically brought a lightning talisman. As long as the lightning talisman locked onto the fan, no matter how fast he was, it could keep up. The fan naturally noticed this as well, but he was completely unable to turn back. For the next 2 days, he was unable to shake off their pursuit. He realized that they wanted to exhaust his divine power until he died. After all, God King Jiang Taixu was not yet dead, so they didn't dare to attack him directly. It was just as the fan had thought. The holy maiden wanted to wear him out to death, but during this period, they had used 7 or 8 lightning talismans in succession, almost exhausting their supply, yet the fan showed no signs of his divine power running out. To provoke the fan, the holy maiden deliberately taunted the fan, "You should just stop. If your injured body is depleted, I'm afraid it will worsen the cracks from your Dao injuries. At that point, you really won't survive." However, the fan didn't deign to pay her any attention. If not for his apprehension of the 3 dragon transformation realm experts, he was confident that he alone was enough to kill the holy maiden of the Yinyang sect. In this way, the 2 sides were locked in a chase, with neither able to gain an advantage. On the 3rd day, the fan finally heard some news. The Yinyang sect's actions in the eastern wasteland, brazenly kidnapping talented children, had aroused the dissatisfaction of many holy lands. The fan knew this must be the work of Pangbo, and was the news spread by them. This also meant they had escaped the pursuit. Then, the fan turned around and began to flee towards the capital of Yan. He believed that if he returned the dozens of children to their respective sects, they would be grateful and help him drive away his pursuers from the Yinyang sect. However, when the fan actually returned to the streets of the capital, he received a telepathic message from the big black dog, instructing him to flee along a specific route. The fan knew the big black dog must have devised a cunning plan to help him escape his dangerous predicament. Sure enough, just as the fan flew towards the location designated by the dog, the holy maiden of the Yinyang sect and the 3 dragon transformation realm elders chasing him were suddenly enveloped by a magic formation, trapping them all inside and leaving them completely unable to escape. The only thing that worried the fan was the strength of the 3 elders. He feared that the magic formation alone would not be enough to refine them, and that the struggle might even alert other members of the Yinyang sect. However, the fan soon thought of another method. He began to traverse the void and, in a moment, appeared in the fiery prison. He went directly to the 7th layer. Although he no longer had the cauldron of all things essence key, holding the Bodhi seed made him fearless of the 7th layer's flames. He quickly collected a monstrous divine flame and brought it back. The flames from the 7th layer of the fiery prison were something that even supreme elder level figures could hardly withstand. let alone 3 dragon transformation, realm elders, and the Holy Maiden. Indeed, when the fan threw the endless flame into the magic formation, the 3 elders immediately let out piercing screams before being burned into charred bothes, their bodies and spirits completely annihilated. Surprisingly, however, the Holy Maiden of the Yinyang sect did not die immediately. She managed to rush out of the magic formation, apparently protected by a powerful secret treasure that had blocked the terrifying flames. But the fan had no intention of letting her go. She had pursued him for hundreds of thousands of miles and provoked him verbally multiple times. He advanced, wielding the god-slaying whip. Suddenly, 10,000 rays of light shone from the Holy Maiden's hand as she scattered a veil of colorful sand that looked like a flowing river of stars. The big black dog hurriedly warned the fan not to touch it, recognizing it as the bone dust of an ancient sage. Each grain contained a strange divine power, was extremely heavy, and if refined into a weapon, its power would be almost unstoppable. The fan, however, was not afraid. He drew his dragon-patterned black gold sword and pressed forward, not believing that the bone dust of a sage could destroy the holy material a great emperor had used to forge a weapon. However, after feeling the terror of the colorful sand, the fan was startled. Although it didn't destroy his sword, it surged along the blade, emitting a trace of a sage's majesty, and was about to touch his body. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the golden sea of bitterness within him boiled, and a green lotus emerged. Swaying, it blocked the surging colorful sand, preventing it from advancing any further. Immediately after, the fan swung the god-slaying whip again, lashing at the bone dust and causing monstrous waves. The Holy Maiden, watching from a distance, was stunned. Blood flowed from between her eyebrows. She hadn't expected that the indestructible bone dust, heavy as a mountain, could be shaken by the god-slaying whip, affecting the divine consciousness contained within it. The big black dog urged the fan on, shouting, "Snatch that bone dust." He could see that the Holy Maiden was having difficulty controlling it, as its true power could only be displayed by a Holy Lord level figure. As it turned out, the Holy Maiden had obtained the bone dust by chance not long ago and hadn't had time to properly refine it. Hearing the dog's words, she finally understood what a divine object she possessed. The Holy Maiden did everything she could to retrieve the bone dust, but the fan gave her no chance. The golden sea of bitterness emerged from his body again, imprisoning the sage's bone dust. Then, the green lotus appeared, releasing wisps of mist that absorbed all of it. With that, the fan successfully snatched the ancient sage's bone dust. With the threat of the bone dust gone, the fan no longer had any scruples and charged forward, swinging the god-slaying whip. But the Holy Maiden took out another weapon, a mirror, white as jade on the front and black as ink on the back. Onlookers were shocked, recognizing it as the Yinyang mirror, a great killing weapon capable of killing without a trace. Fortunately, it was only a replica. If the real one had appeared, perhaps only an extreme Dao Emperor weapon could have contended with it. Even so, when the front of the replica shone on him, the fan felt his divine soul was threatened, as if it were about to be pulled from his body. To counter this, he had to send out his own primordial spirit, which sat cross-legged in the void, fiercely resisting the strange power. The stalemate was broken only when a world-shaking thunderclap sounded in the void, completely dissipating the mirror's power. Having recovered, the fan pressed forward again. This time, the Holy Maiden flipped the mirror to its black side, which turned into a black hole that tried to swallow him. The fan immediately countered by sending out a Vudra bracelet. When the two weapons collided, the Holy Maiden was forced back, the mirror almost falling from her hand. Seeing his advantage, the fan directed all his attacks towards her. However, a Yinyang diagram suddenly appeared behind her, neutralizing all of his attacks. Faintly visible within the diagram was a white-haired old man sitting cross-legged, exuding a terrifying aura. The fan knew this must be a primordial spirit imprint left by the supreme leader of the Yinyang sect, and he wondered if killing the Holy Maiden would cause this terrifying imprint to rush out. Meanwhile, the Holy Maiden was also anxious, holding on and waiting for reinforcements from her sect, which she knew must be on their way. But the fan's attacks became increasingly fierce, putting her under immense pressure. She was convinced that without the protection of the Yinyang diagram, she would have already perished. Finally, the fan no longer hesitated and charged again, holding his dragon-patterned black gold sword. Just then, Several more dragon transformation realm elders from the Yinyang sect rushed over, blocking his attack. At first, the fan thought they were powerful experts, but upon seeing they were only at the second level of the realm, he paid them no mind. Meanwhile, Pang Bo, the big black dog, and the others moved to block the Holy Maiden, giving her no chance to escape. After the fan dealt with the newly arrived elders one by one, he chased the Holy Maiden for 1,000 miles and, with a single sword strike, split her in two. She could no longer hold on, only kept from perishing by the flowing yin-yang diagram. At that moment, the old man, sitting cross-legged within the diagram, let out a soul-piercing voice. "Junior, you dare to kill my sect's disciple?" The fan responded forcefully, "So what if I kill her? I'm the one person who fears threats the least. If you have the guts, go and contend with the God King, and see what happens." Then, the fan swung his holy sword again, completely and cleanly, killing the Holy Maiden of the Yinyang sect. He even forcibly erased the primordial spirit imprint within the Yinyang diagram, leaving no hidden dangers behind. The onlookers in the distance were dumbfounded by this scene. They knew that the fan had slain a Holy Maiden from the central province, a major event destined to shake the entire eastern wasteland. Indeed, on that very day, the news spread quickly. The fall of a younger generation Holy Maiden became the first such case in the history of the eastern wasteland. Okay, that's all the content for this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. After all, your support is my motivation to keep creating content. I'm the fan. See you in the next video.